5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to the Eden Wellness Alliance and our State of the Association address. No cows this time. Oh, but we do have a new calf, so I might show you that sometime. But that's beside the point. As we do with our State of the Associations, we're going to be doing our announcements first, and then we'll go into what we're talking about today. So as far as announcements go, I don't think we have anything that needs announcing as far as events that are coming up in the area at the moment. I may be mistaken. If I am mistaken, you can leave it down in the comments and say, hey, missed it. But otherwise, the Eden Wellness Alliance doesn't have anything going on at the moment for the next week, maybe two. But we'll see what goes on. If something happens next week, that's going to be the first of, let me see. Yeah, I think next week, the next State of the Association will be the 1st of March. So we'll try to announce the March stuff that's going to happen then. So there is that. As far as what we're talking about today, we talked about last time about how grass-fed beef is important, that getting grass-fed beef helps you have a better balance of omega-3s to omega-6s. It has a more balanced omega-3 to 6 ratio. However, I do want to point out and make sure, I believe I clarified there, but to clarify them further, that doesn't mean that they never get grain. It just means that grain is a treat or a supplemental thing. It's not a way that is not what they're particularly fed all the time. That the majority of their nutrition and the majority of their diet is based out of grass and hay and stuff like that. That's what's important about making sure that there's a balance in those omegas. Otherwise, yes, they can have grain and stuff and still maintain a kind of balance for their omega-3s and 6s. Now, I do want to point something out, since that's not the only thing we have in at our home, the cows. There's also chickens. Any kind of livestock is what we're going to talk about this time. Getting properly sourcing your livestock. The importance of getting involved with your local farmers it makes a big difference to getting the type of food quality that you're looking for. Now, you may not have super awesome, say that you live out in a rural area and you can't get to a store that focuses on organics or that even has a small selection of organics. Well, you know what you can do? You can go to your local farmers in the area and say, you know what, I don't want to buy just any old egg. Do you have eggs? Or do you know someone that has eggs? Your neighbors might know someone. Might know someone that raises their own chickens, and then you might say, well, I'm willing to buy some feed if you give me some eggs. And that can be a great trade-off. That saves them on feed and you on eggs, you on money too, because over the long run, they're going to not need another bag until that bag's gone. And most people mix up their feed, so having those different variations in feed can be beneficial for the chickens too. There's also the idea of the beef, like we talked about before. If you're not sure how your beef's raised, going to a local farmer and saying, hey, I'm willing to pay, again, for some of the feed, or I'm willing to do other things, let it graze on my land. For if we get a butchering calf together, we'll work it together, and that'll allow you to do that. Maybe if you're lucky, you've got a family member that has either a farm or a ranch or something like that, some kind of way to grow those things, and be like, why don't we split this? I'll cover some of the cost, you put in some of the labor. If you can't do some of the labor yourself, we're talking about someone who might not have that ability. Maybe they don't have the time working a full-time job, or you believe you don't. That's definitely a point that you're going to want to talk to a local farmer, local person that you know. And trust me, as someone who lives out in a rural area, people are generally friendly. Not everybody's out to get you. And especially when you go talking to people that farm and that ranch, and they tend to understand that community is going to be a big deal for your support system, including the community, is going to be a big deal for the success of your farm and your ranch. And they will likely work with you or be willing to direct you to someone who might know more, or someone who even just sells it. Some people just sell eggs. You don't have to do anything extra. They just sell eggs. Or milk. Getting quality milk is a big deal for your body's system. Milk is not something we're normally supposed to use and eat as we grow. There's not a lot of mammals that are willing to eat and drink milk outside of humans after they're grown. Now, that's not to say that they don't take it if you give it to them. Cats really like milk. Dogs will eat milk, even though they don't need a lot of it. If you are giving your dog milk, don't give them a lot of it, because they're not usually as good at digesting it as cats are. Just little treats every now and then, and that's how it should be for the cats too. But if you are drinking milk, or if you find you're starting to get lactose sensitive, switching to milk that is properly grown, that is properly farmed and properly produced, would be the more appropriate word, I believe, then you may find that you're not intolerant of that your body tolerates milk that's grown that way, that's produced that way, that's from grass-fed beef, that's not from grain-fed beef, that's coming from cows that don't have a lot of stuff done with them as far as disturbing their normal cycles in life. And that can make the difference on whether your body's going to process it appropriately or not. So, using that as a guide, allowing that, the idea behind this is to work with those local in your area to get the best results for your health. Going to farmers markets are your friend, because you know you can meet the farmer, you can ask him how he grows his food. If it's not organic and you don't want it, then don't buy it. But again, here's the kicker. A lot of the times, farmers markets have better food quality than going to the store. Because remember, going to the store means they have to make sure that that will last in the store. Regardless of whether it was grown appropriately or not, that still has to last in the store. That's why a lot of companies before this didn't go organic. They went for the longest shelf life they could get, because you could get more out of your produce and more out of the production that you've made, that product that you've made, if you can leave it on the shelf until someone buys it. That's not good for health, though. And that's what we're talking about here. For the best health benefits, going towards a farmer's market, a more local idea of and sourcing of your food is going to be your friend. This is especially important for things like honey. And if you do buy honey, even if you don't buy honey very often, having some honey on hand that is from a local source means that when those allergies start hitting, maybe you're someone who's already using essential oils and you're using the lemon, lavender, and peppermint to help you with that. All three of those together, placed on the nose, work really well. Or if you find, like we've talked about before, that the Digest-Zin over this area works better, that means it's a digestive issue, but it also means that honey's going to help both ways on that. If it's a problem with the nasal cavity and the sensitivity to the allergens in the area, they're not, I don't like using the word allergens, they're just particulates. They're not out to get you. They're not specifically out to get you, so they're not trying to be allergens. They're just pollen. They're just different portions of a plant coming off. So if you have that happening and you get local honey, that means that your body's going to get little bitty doses of that in its digestive tract, which it may be needing. And when it gets that digestive tract, instead of your body becoming overly sensitive to it, your body starts to be like, oh, that's a thing. I need to address that. I need to address that sensitivity I'm having. It can trigger your body to address it appropriately versus becoming oversensitive. And that's why lactose intolerance and things like that with raw milk sourced from your area also helps. Having raw milk from your area, you get the enzymes. And I do stipulate raw milk. You don't want it super processed. That's one of the problems that arises with us drinking milk in a more processed setting and adding vitamins back and forth to milk. Not a good idea, really. It sounds like a good idea from just a purely nutritional amounts, ratios to ratios standpoint. You would be like, that's a good idea. Except the problem is that vitamin D that gets added back in is not always the vitamin D type that is good for your system, that is balanced with the milk. So this is a long thing to help us remember to appreciate our local farmers and to utilize their abilities. This has been Adam L. Spain with the Eden Wellness Alliance, health and wellness the way God intended, all natural, non-invasive approaches to your health, wealth, and relationships. Bye.